In tonight's headlines, Belizean Patriots are honored for their contributions to the building of our nation, and the Ministry of Defense talks about its new show, Belize's First Line of Defense. These stories and more on this week's edition of Belize Now. Thanks for joining us on this Friday, September 15th, 2017. I'm Miriam Longsworth. The Tribute to Belizean Patriots Awards Ceremony 2017 was held on September 14th at the Bliss Institute for Performing Arts in Belize City. The event is held every year as a part of the official September celebration activities. It's an occasion to honor Belizeans who have dedicated their lives to serving the country. It was an exciting night, and our Belize Now team was there to witness the moments of pride. 22 Belizeans were honored for their service to Belize over the years. Their areas of work are from various fields including education, sports, and government. While they have different backgrounds, ages, and stories to tell, they all have one thing in common. These Belizeans have devoted themselves to serving their communities and country. Ms. June Hushner is a 9-year member of the National Honors and Awards Advisory Committee, which is responsible for recommending nominees to the Cabinet. She spoke to us about the process.
We have a representative from almost all the districts serving on the board, and Cabinet members also recommend. And people in the general public, if you know of someone, you can recommend them to a member of the committee. But generally what we do, I'm from Belmopan, Mr. Garbut is from Dangriga, Miss Sylvia Gillett is from Corozal from the north. So we look for people in the area who have contributed, who have given something meaningfully to the development of Belize.
Ms. Hushner said that after the Cabinet makes their recommendations, the Governor General signs off on the approval and presents the awards at the ceremony. 20 of the honorees received the Meritorious Service Award, while 2 received the Order of Distinction. We got a chance to talk to a few of the honorees, including twin brothers Sebastian and Fabian Caetano. They said that Belizeans should be motivated by a passion to serve their country rather than receiving recognition.
Whatever you do, put your heart and soul into it. Put your all into it. If you need to go the extra mile, go the extra mile, because you never can tell who is looking on and how you're going to be rewarded later on in life. I never dreamt one day of getting a meritorious award, but whatever I did, I put my heart and soul into it all out, because I like what is good, and I like to give my best to people, to service, to God, my country, and our Belizean brothers and sisters.
Get involved. There's no use to complain if you do not participate and make the changes you want to see happen. You have to participate, you have to make your voice heard and make your input be felt. You also have to have a sense of clarity of vision as to where you want to go. That's most important.
When you invest 30 years of your life in the kind of interchange that we have had with wonderful Belizeans with whom I've worked, it's hard to give it up. I can't, and as I say, to hear them tell me how much they appreciated it today. For example, we had a reception, and I couldn't keep the tears back. It was just an out-of-body experience, practically, surreal to be so honored, and I am grateful.
On behalf of the Belize Now team, congratulations to this year's recipients. For Belize Now, I'm Miriam Longsworth. We're now halfway through the most festive month of the year and have already experienced a full array of events, including the Queen of the Bay pageant, the Battle of St. George's Key Day, and the tribute to Belizean Patriots. Belize Now's Andrew Pitts went searching to find out from Belizeans what September means to me.
September is a month unlike any other on the Belizean calendar. While the weather may be unpredictable, festivities, celebrations, and a heightened display of patriotism are guaranteed. For some, September means celebrating the country's independence attained on the 21st of September 1981. For others, September means honoring the Baymen and the Battle of St. George's Caye fought over 200 years ago. And then there are those who look forward to the carnivals, the juves, and the high adrenaline concerts that keep the country abuzz for the entire month. Today, we will be talking to Belizeans and we will hear directly from them what September means for me.
Carnival, of course.
Carnival. Carnival. Expo too.
The 10th of September was very representative of the history and culture of the country. So that's how I always regard it, which is why I was more interested in coming for the 10th than the 21st.
September to me means the love of country. I think about all the struggles that we're going through for them up to this day.
September is about celebration and remembering the struggle that our ancestors had to face before us getting to this time of the year.
The 21st, because we're going to orange up and party hard.
My favorite part is how all Belizeans they just work together to make this country look beautiful in the colors. The 21st, September is when we gain our independence, and that just happy for the Belizean there. That's what September means to me.
As we have heard, while the most enjoyable part of September varies from person to person, it is undeniable that September is a time of unity and patriotism, a time for us to be proud of our history and heritage. After the break, more stories. Stay with us.
The new Belize City Civic Center is taking shape at the foot of the Balkan Bridge and is expected to be completed by December 2017. This multi-purpose mega facility will boast an air-conditioned interior with a seating capacity of 4,500, a FIBA-certified wooden main court and 3 practice courts, offices, media boxes and multiple locker rooms, another basketball court with 24-hour access to the public, and parking for 200 vehicles. This $33 million investment highlights a new era of world-class sporting infrastructure for the entire country of Belize. The government of Belize, moving Belize forward.
On Wednesday, September 13th, the government of Belize premiered Belize's First Line of Defense, a brand new series which gives Belizeans a behind-the-scenes look at the life of the men and women who serve in the Belize Defense Force, BDF. Communications Coordinator in the Office of the Prime Minister, Henry Wade, told us about the inception of the idea.
Well, overall, it's been a collaborative process now. The initial idea stemmed from the Office of the Prime Minister, but with significant contributions and collaboration with the Ministry of Defense, in particular the Belize Defense Force. It was a long time in the making. It's the actual filming started in October of last year, and we've been steadily trying to secure content to build on this important initiative. No? So it's a collaborative process between the Office of the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Defense, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Wade also gave us a synopsis of what viewers of the documentary can expect from the 4-part series.
The documentary is very important because it shares information on not only our borders, the border markers, a history behind those borders, which is very important for every Belizean to know and learn more about. But it also shows the patriotic side of our soldiers, the sacrifices that they've gone through, and some are still going through, as we speak. It allows the Belizean public to sort of peep behind the curtain of, you know, our soldiers, our military, and to get that sense of patriotism that yes, our soldiers are by far some of the best trained, some of the most equipped, best equipped, and it just gives you a sense of pride being a Belizean, knowing that when you go to sleep at night, you have these proud men and women, these brave men and women who are out there, you know, making sometimes the ultimate sacrifice to protect the country and to protect all of us.
So why should Belizeans take time to watch this series?
The persons that will watch the episodes will see that the BDF is a very unique, very capable, a very complex institution that takes into consideration, as small as they are, everything that encompasses an armed force, and appreciating the history of where we have come from. Our soldiers, past and present, will get a chance to look at that and have not just have fun memories, but get a better appreciation of what it is we are trying to achieve and what the history and the meaning of all of this is. So I think doing this at this time, around Independence time, is ideal, and I am sure that the watching public will have a better appreciation for the men and women of the Belize Defense Force.
Stay tuned for part 1 of 4 of the brand new series, Belize's First Line of Defense, when we return from our break. Don't go anywhere.
Is changing.
Welcome to Belize.
Nobody will ever stop my heart from loving. Showing
Bienvenidos a Belize.
Let's keep growing. Don't let the struggles get you down.
Recibe lumutibu Belize.
We are golden. We
Tohokre kulunik adin Septemba Means.
gotta get stronger. We can get
Welcome to Belize.
negativity no longer. Then we
Welcome to Belize. For the first time in the Western Hemisphere, the World Youth Conference is coming, and it's all happening in Belize. The Department of Youth Services under the Ministry of Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, alongside the government of Belize, will be hosting WIC 17 under the theme Globally Running to 2030, Becoming Sustainably Strong, from November 6th through the 9th, 2017 at the Ramada Hotel in Belize City. This conference convenes young leaders from around the world as we see how we can tackle the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. See you in Belize.
Join us in Belize for the World Youth Conference 2017.
We gotta keep moving, gotta get stronger. We can't give in to the negativity no longer.
Belize, a beautiful Caribbean nation nestled in the midst of Central America, is home to over 350,000 people and comprises an area of over 8,867 square miles of plains, mountains and lush forests. The country is bordered on the north by Mexico, the west and south by Guatemala, and the east by the Caribbean Sea. Since the late 1800s, Belize's borders with Mexico and Guatemala have been marked with the placement of 3 visible concrete monuments. The first border monument is located to the north at Aguas Turbias and defines the point of convergence between Belize, Mexico, and Guatemala. The second border monument is located to the west at Garbert's Falls and represents the midpoint of the nation's border with its neighbor Guatemala. The third border monument is located to the south at Gracias a Dios and is the most southwesterly point of Belize. These important monuments have withstood the test of time for over 100 years, when Belize was formerly known as British Honduras, a territory of the United Kingdom. Since the early 1800s, Guatemala and Great Britain sought to establish a border agreement which would define the boundaries of British Honduras. This agreement, formerly known as the Anglo-Guatemalan Treaty, was signed in 1859 between Her Majesty the Queen of the United Kingdom and the Republic of Guatemala. An extract from the Anglo-Guatemalan Treaty outlines the details of Belize's borderline. And it reads, "The Convention between Her Majesty and the Republic of Guatemala relative to the boundaries of British Honduras, signed on the 30th of April, 1859. Whereas the boundary between Her Britannic Majesty's settlement and possessions in the Bay of Honduras and the territories of the Republic of Guatemala has not yet been ascertained and marked out. Her Majesty the Queen of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland and the Republic of Guatemala being desirous of, with a view to improve and perpetuate friendly relations which happily subsist between the two countries, to define the boundary aforesaid, have resolved to conclude a convention for the purpose and have found it good and in due form have agreed upon and concluded the following articles. Article 1. It is agreed between Her Britannic Majesty and the Republic of Guatemala that the boundary between the Republic and the British settlement and possessions in the Bay of Honduras, as they existed previous to and on the 1st of January 1850 and have continued to exist up to the time, was and is as follows. Beginning at the mouth of the River Sarstoon in the Bay of Honduras and proceeding up the mid-channel thereof to Gracias a Dios Falls, then turning to the right and continuing by a line drawn direct from Gracias a Dios Falls to Garbert's Falls on the River Belize and from Garbert's Falls due north until it strikes the Mexican frontier. It is agreed and declared between the high contracting parties that all the territory to the north and east of the line of boundary above described belongs to Her Britannic Majesty and that all the territory to the south and west of the same belongs to the Republic of Guatemala. Subsequently, after the treaty establishing the boundary between British Honduras and the Republic of Guatemala was signed, commissioners from both countries were appointed to erect visible structures that would signify points along their mutual border. Over time, these border points were reinforced. Once again, the construction of more permanent concrete pillars, each standing approximately 5 feet high and 2.5 feet in diameter, and a diplomatic exchange of notes whereby both parties in Britain and Guatemala acknowledged the borders of Belize. The first issuance of these exchange of notes was drafted on 25th August 1931 by British Legation H.A. Grant Watson to Guatemala's Foreign Minister A. Skinner Klee. It reads as follows. Your Excellency, the boundary between British Honduras and the Republic of Guatemala was laid down in the Convention between the Republic of Guatemala and Her Majesty the Queen of Great Britain and Ireland, signed at Guatemala on the 30th April 1859, Article 1, Paragraph 2, of which the line as, beginning at the mouth of the River Sarstoon in the Bay of Honduras and proceeding up the mid-channel thereof to Gracias a Dios Falls, then turning to the right and continuing by a line drawn direct from Gracias a Dios Falls to Garbert's Falls on the River Belize and from Garbert's Falls due north until it strikes the Mexican frontier. It was further stipulated by Article 2 of the Convention that Her Britannic Majesty and the Republic of Guatemala shall, within 12 months after the exchange of the ratifications of the present convention, appoint such a commissioner for the purpose of designating and marking out the boundary described in the preceding article. Such commissioners shall ascertain the latitude and longitude of Gracias a Dios Falls and of Garbert's Falls, and shall cause the line of boundary between Garbert's Falls and the Mexican territory to be opened and marked, whereas a protection against future trespass. In consequence, joint commissioners were appointed in 1860 for this purpose, who marked in situ the position of the terminal points of the southern section of the boundary, namely Garbert Falls and Gracias a Dios Falls. However, the full survey of the frontier was not completed at that time. The governments of the United Kingdom and Guatemala are now desirous of completing the demarcation. As a first step towards this purpose, commissioners were reappointed who met on the Sarstun River on the 16th January 1929 and who proceeded to inspect the terminal points of the southern section of the frontier. They inspected the concrete monuments on the north bank of the Sarstun River at Gracias a Dios, 900 yards upstream from the mouth of the Chacon branch. On the 22nd January 1929, they inspected the piles of stones on either side of the Belize River at Garbert's Falls, erected by the Joint Commissioners in 1861. They decided to accept these marks as indicating the exact position of the two terminal points. The marks were then replaced by new concrete monuments, erected under the supervision of the Commissioners. The monument at Garbert's Falls being placed on the southern side of the river and the former pile of stones being demolished. The work both on the Belize and the Sarstun rivers was duly recorded in a report signed by the said commissioners at the Sarstun River on the 29 May 1929, of which I have received an original signed copy. I have the honor to inform Your Excellency that I am authorized by His Majesty's Government in the United Kingdom to confirm on their behalf and in accordance with Article 3, Paragraph 3 of the Convention, this report as set forth in the accompanying copy, duly certified by me to accept the concrete monuments erected by the said commissioners as correctly marking the terminal points aforesaid, and to state that they would be glad to receive a similar assurance on the part of the Government of Guatemala. The present note and Your Excellency's reply will constitute the agreement between the United Kingdom and Guatemala in the matter. Signed, H.A. Grant Watson. In their response dated 26 August 1931, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Guatemala, A. Skinner Klee, submitted the following. Your Excellency, I have the honor to acknowledge receipt of your note on the 25th instant. The Government of Guatemala agrees to accept the concrete monuments erected at Garbert's Falls and Rapids of Gracias a Dios, which were set up by the commissioners of both governments. Engineers Fernando Cruz and Frederick W. Brunton on the 8th and the 26th May 1929 on the frontier between Guatemala and British Honduras, according to the report drawn up at the Sarstun River Bar by both delegates on the 29th day of the same month. A copy of the report duly certified is enclosed herewith. These monuments, thus determined, form part of the boundary line between British Honduras and the Republic of Guatemala. Signed, A. Skinner Klee. And so it was that British Honduras had established its terrestrial borders with these two important international agreements and the concrete monuments that were purposefully positioned between the two nations. As a result, it was inherently established that responsibility came with securing those borders. International borders tend to serve several distinct purposes. 1. Protection and ownership of that which is within. A country is able to identify, manage, and control land, water, or aerial space if it falls within the boundaries of its borders. This is important because nations can ensure that natural resources, wildlife, and habitats found in those areas are protected. Laws can be drawn as to how the area is to be managed, and plans can be made as to how the area may be used. 2. Prevention of that which is harmful from entering. A country is able to restrict via the boundaries of its borders anyone or anything from entering. Today, the borderline of Belize is protected by the Belize Defense Force. Alert, armed, and accurate, these soldiers are ready for whatever may come their way. The Belize Defense Force patrols Belize's terrestrial borderline from north to south. Patrolling miles of rugged terrain is very challenging and demands careful preparation and planning. Even the smallest mistake can prove severe for these men and women. Providing that all logistics have been carefully worked out, these soldiers can expect only a few difficulties along the way. An average patrol may be between 3 to 6 miles long over rugged terrain with full gear. And when moving from one location to the next, soldiers can cover over 18 miles. These patrols are carried out regardless of the terrain and weather. Unfortunately, weather conditions aren't always favorable, and bad weather conditions add to the difficulties experienced. Heavy rain pouring down from dark clouds or intense heat spreading across the forest is to be expected on any given day. Each soldier must be equipped with the proper equipment and gear. They must be prepared to walk through thick vegetation and over obstacles along the path. Despite the many challenges at hand, they march forward shoulder to shoulder. But do these soldiers patrol all of the 170 miles of Belize's terrestrial border with Mexico and the 165 miles border with Guatemala? The answer is yes. The entire border is patrolled by air, rivers by boat, and land by our soldiers. But what all does it take to build a soldier? What type of training and special skills are required for them to professionally and accurately fortify Belize's borders? In our next episode, we look at the men and women who spend their everyday lives doing just that. Tune in next time as we continue our journey in discovering Belize's border patrol guards, the Belize Defense Force.
And that's it for this edition of Belize Now. If you want to provide feedback or send in your comments, please feel free to email us at info@pressoffice.gov.bz or visit our Facebook page and let us know what you think. We look forward to hearing from you. Have a great week until next time. And from all of us here at the Government of Belize Press Office, have a safe and happy Independence Day.